Hey, can you guys hear me? I'm hoping I got this to work. Hold on. Looking for comments. There's live chat. Let me know if you can hear me, okay? There's live chat. Ooh. Let me know if you can hear me, okay? There's live chat. Okay. And now I am trying to figure out how I can keep my live chat up because it's not staying up. Just. Okay. And now I am trying to figure out how I can keep my live chat up. You are looking at me. You are looking at me. This is, of course, backwards. Oh boy. All right. Well, it looks like I can't get this to go sideways. Oh my God. Oh boy. Gotta love technology. And me. Not always the best mix. Hi guys. Well, if you're here, thank you for showing up because I'm here and I'm gonna keep checking in on the live chat. I don't know why it keeps disappearing off of my phone. I don't usually stream off of my phone, but I need a nice big space. So I'm actually in my kitchen today, not at my cluttered desk. So I wanted to have enough room so that I could move around and show you everything easily. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Abby. Thank God for Abby. That is all I can say. You are my savior, Abby. Oh boy. Well, I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope everybody's doing all right. I'm just gonna go and move my dog and then I'll be right back, okay? So I'm sorry that this is, I wish I could figure out how to make this go horizontally, but it doesn't look like that's gonna happen. All right, one sec. Okay. Hello, everybody. So I don't know who I have missed, if you are here, if we have any newbies. I see. Hi, Dee. Oh, good. You guys can hear me. Okay. Well, that's good. So I'm sorry that this is vertical. I really didn't even think about this one before I got started today. So I'm sorry, and I don't even know how this is going to look on YouTube after the fact. But whatevs, here we are. Okay, so I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for coming tonight. Okay, so Diane, I'm gonna do my best to speak up because I don't have a mic hooked up to this particular phone setup because usually I am sitting at a computer, but I can't do that while I'm flipping through a book. It's too hard. So I wanted to be able to show you guys everything and be able to move around a little bit. So here I am. How are you all? How's everybody doing today? Well, in Detroit, it's a pretty dreary day, cold, nothing too exciting to report, but at least we haven't gotten too much snow, so that makes me happy. But I'm just really super excited, you guys, because I have been just really working my behind off trying to get this done. And I meant to get this done. This has been a project that I started, just gathering the pictures and figuring out what I was gonna do. It's so much work, and my husband laughs because he doesn't understand, like, until he sees me losing my mind, how much work it all is. And I'm just really excited because it's finally here. So I wanted to do a little unboxing, but I should actually call it an unpackaging because it's not a box this time around. A lot of times if I buy a couple if I buy like more than two, they'll send it to me in a big box. So this is a little bit smaller, but that's okay. So anyway, so I wanted to announce to you guys that I have published my book, which is called Magical Maidens. And this is the first book that I have done in 3 years. It has actually been 3 years since I have actually published a print book. And you know, I know most of you that are here know, but my best known books are The Secrets of Coloring and Secrets of Coloring 2. And I have done other publishing books as well. I didn't bring them out here. I've done other publishing books as well. But this is the first time in, I think it's been 3 years since I have done anything published. I've been doing so much on Etsy, and I've taken part in all of those events that take place. It's being run right now through Monarch events, coloring events, and all the events that take place, you know, like Mermaids and February and all those things. So I've tried to make sure that I'm involved in those, but you know, being a mom is a tough job at times, and so I've spent a lot of time over the past couple of years helping my kids. So I am so glad to be back, and you know, with a new book, a kind of new book. Some of the images are almost 3 years old, but some of them are newer as well. So anyway, I wanted to share with you what I've got. So should we get started here? I'm just going to look and see if I check in with you guys on live chat. Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, I was, when I turned it before though, Abby, it was sideways. So I'm afraid it'll be sideways if I try to turn it. I mean, I can try, but I think I don't think it's going to record that way. I think it'll just record sideways, right? I'm pretty sure. And then it won't, then I don't know how I would get it to go the right way on YouTube. So if anybody has any recommendations, if there's anything I can do at this point, I'm happy to do it. I don't know what I'm doing. So, and I don't usually do this by my phone. So if you're just joining us right now, I'm sorry that this is vertical. I'm currently technologically challenged, but I'm having a positive attitude and we're just sticking with it. So thank you for sticking with me, guys. All right, so on to exciting things. So in my package today is, better be my book. There it is. Ta-da! In all of its glory. So I welcome you to Magical Maidens. Thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you, Abby. So this book is a of my favorite hand-drawn, pencil-drawn coloring pages, which are Grayscale coloring pages. And the first Grayscale coloring page I did got such great response from, and I had so much fun doing it that I was just like, I love doing this. And before I did any Grayscale coloring, I was doing line art, and it was line art. I would do a basic sketch and then I would scan it, and then I would use a program to basically redraw it. And I like doing that too, but it is very tedious and it's not the same as using a pencil. So I really enjoy doing this kind of art. Let me see, I'm gonna check in and see what's going on here. Hi, Melanie. Thank you. Thank you, Diane. So, hi, Amanda. How are you? My long lost friend. I hope you guys are all doing well. It's good to see you guys. So anyway, I really had to think hard about what I wanted this to be, how I wanted this to come off, and to embrace the fact that it's a grayscale coloring book, which is different than everything I've done. So the reason that I have chosen to do this the way that I have is that I wanted to create something that could be used sort of hand in hand with my Secrets of Coloring. I actually did do a section. There's a grayscale mushroom right here. And I did do a section on grayscale, but it's, you know, pretty lengthy. But it's a little different because it's not a portrait. And having that experience, I wanted to put together images that would lend themselves really well to coloring. And a trend that I was noticing, because I was really following the trends when I got started in 2016, the trends that I started noticing were that people were, you know, coloring in their line art, originally coloring in their line art and doing beautiful colorings. And I want to say a year into that, there was a shift of people trying to cover up all of their black lines, all of their heavy lines. And I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I actually wrote a whole, in this Secrets of Coloring, I wrote a whole section about that as well, because so many people were enjoying coloring, but they wanted to take their coloring to the next level, and they weren't happy with the black lines that you could see after the fact. So I did a whole section talking about how to get rid of your black lines, etc., etc. There's a million ways to get rid of black lines, whether you're using a Posca pen or some kind of gel pen, or you're erasing it out with an eraser, or you're taking your coloring page and scanning it and removing those lines digitally by either lightening the entire image or just erasing out the lines. So I know that people go to great lengths to try to get rid of their lines. So that's one of the things that I love about grayscale. Okay, I'm just checking in here. So Magical Maidens, here we are. So the cover art is one of the finished, one of the few finished colorings that I've done. And I wanted, and it's actually one of my favorite coloring pages too. I follow art history, and Norman Rockwell was always one of my favorites, and I love the silent humor in his images, and just there's like a tiny little a little bit of just a hint of a sense of humor in some of them, and some of them are really funny and obvious, but there's just something about them, and you always know it's Norman Rockwell. And I wanted to show kind of a tongue-in-cheek, I wanted to illustrate sort of a tongue-in-cheek relationship between people and their pets, or not pets, and their pets. And I just thought it would be kind of funny to create an image like this. So this is my aviatrix. Her name is Charm, and this is Steampunky Monkey. And these are the friends that he is letting go. So I thought that it would be just kind of fun to do that. So let's dig in, okay? So this book is printed on 60-pound premium Amazon paper. So it's the same paper that is in my Secrets of Coloring books. It is not the same paper that is in most coloring books that are on the market, which is why it's a little bit more expensive, because Amazon makes us mark it up to account for the 4-color inks. So I can use any colors on the inside. It's not just the outside like most coloring books. So I will tell you that this book is 53 pages. And all my social media. And there's a little reminder in the description itself that basically tells people, because I know a number of artists who are also in the same position that I'm in, when we do publish through Amazon, and any publisher really for that matter, there are limitations, and people want cardstock and perforated pages, and Amazon doesn't offer them. If they had them, trust me, I would put my portion of money in to make them, because I would love to see them that way, but they don't offer it. So what I have elected to do was to take their best paper, and that's why it does cost a little bit more. But we don't make really much more by doing a coloring book than we would if we were to do a regular Grayscale book. It's the amount of money that Amazon pays its artists, authors is minimal there. Excuse me. But we enjoy doing what we do, and that's why we do it. As long as we can make somewhat of a living doing it, right? So this is my This Book Belongs To page. It's been adapted. I had a different page with this image last year, and I decided to do something a little bit different. And you'll notice if you're looking at the pages, I know people have talked about their concerns about Amazon paper. What I will tell you is that this paper is a little bit thicker than the regular standard paper. It's a little thicker, it's a lot whiter, and it's not as transparent. You can hear it, right? And people have been concerned. I did a little poll asking colorists if they would prefer that I just do regular standard Amazon paper, in which case I could add a lot more pages because the page limit is higher, or if they would prefer just the premium paper, so that it's just the experience itself is a little bit different. So that's what I went with here. I've never used this before for a coloring book, but my concern was I wanted to pick up on all of the little subtleties, all of the nuances that you see in pencil drawing. And I was afraid that if I did the regular standard paper, number one, a lot of people would complain about it because they always do, and there's nothing we can do. And number two, I was afraid it wouldn't get those nice little subtleties that you see. It looks just as nice as if it were to come out of my home printer, right? So it's very important. That was very important to me, and that's why after polling people, it was really a 50-50 split of what colorists wanted, but I just decided to just go this way. I'm reading your comment, Michelle, and I think that's awesome. And you know what? If you can make copies, you have choices. You can always take a book like this and you can make copies onto other paper. So if you want your image on cardstock, if it's a really high quality image and you have a good copy machine at home, then by all means copy it onto other paper, make 2 or 3. That way you can take your time, practice, mess some of them up and not worry. Or if you're the kind of person who likes to have total control over that, then you're probably better off just with downloads. And a lot of these images, but not all of these images, are available in my Etsy shop. But as I was stating about reviews, if you do buy this book and you do happen to leave a review, which of course is greatly appreciated, just keep in mind that we as artists don't have a choice sometimes when it comes to papers and things like that. We'll do anything to see it be a quality product. And if your book came damaged or whatever, that is definitely something to take up with Amazon, and I highly recommend that you contact them in that case. But this book should not be damaged. You know, I look over everything, and I looked over my proof to make sure it was all right and the materials were quality and all of that. So, and I was pleased. So on the back of every page is a reminder to use a blotter page underneath this page right here if you're going to color on this page using wet media. And it also lists the name of who's on the opposite page. So in this case, this is the Fabulous, I have 4 categories here. The first one is Fabulous Fairies, and this is Fairy Queen Bella. And she's kind of a punk fairy queen. But I do love that you can see all of the richness, all of the pencil and everything. It looks just like the drawing. And that's exactly what I wanted. Still in our fairy category, this is Staghorn Nymph. And this one is a little bit different than the one on Etsy, because what I did was I took the coloring page myself and I colored it. And then I added all my lights and darks and everything. And then I colored it with colored pencil, and then I scanned it, and I loved the way that it looked. And it was kind of a happy accident, but I was like, this is cool. I love having some of the pages with some darker skin tones if you prefer to do like a full grayscale type image. Now, not all of them are like this, only a couple of them are like this. But if you like that look, then there are a couple of those in here. So this one is a little bit lighter, obviously. This here is my Daydream Fairy. This is Rosemary Fairy. And she's got a nice little ribbon with her friends. I love animals, so I try to get as many in as I can. Again, the name is listed at the bottom. This is Poppy Fairy. You always choose the darkest grayscale. That's cool. I like it too. However, I know some people who have a lot of trouble using dark grayscale because they have a hard time covering up the gray. And I think it really depends on what your favorite materials are to use. And it also depends on how heavy of a hand you have. Because if you don't have a real heavy hand, then sometimes it does make it harder to cover up some of the grays. However, a lot of times that is if the paper has a sheen to it, if it's like shiny. This paper does not have a sheen to it. The ink, when they put the ink on it, there's a touch of a sheen, but not much. And you can cover up over those grays. But I did these as what I would call a medium grayscale because I felt that way that people, if they wanted to, obviously you can make a copy of it if you need to, and you can darken your lines, darken your grays there. Or, you know, you can always go darker. You can always add your darks to your grayscale. But yes, I totally understand that, Diane, and that is why in my Etsy shop, I always offer the images as usually 3 different variations of gray. So people have their choice. Okay, so this one is Delphine Faye. So she is the portrait version of my Daydream Fairy. So she's a little bit different. And all of the framing and all of that is completely different. But she's got oak leaves around her and acorns. And this is one of the lightest grayscale images in here, meaning her skin is not overloaded with gray. There's a lot of interpretation that can be had here. And this is Ore Fae, and probably my favorite fairy. I like Ore. All right, moving along. So now we're gonna move out of the fairies into the princesses. So you can see here, and you can see this in color ink, Radiant Royalty. This is Princess Robina. Okay. And again, this is a grayscale that has more gray. So if you like to color on top of the gray for skin tones, if you want to learn where to place your skin tones, grayscale coloring can be super helpful if it is spelled out for you where it is in an image like this. So if you follow where the grays go, if you're looking to see where the grays are before you're adding your own colors, it will help you to start to learn how to identify that, so that even when you're using your regular black and white line art, you'll know where to put certain tones. It's just a second nature thing. It's something that you get used to after doing it repeatedly. So Princess Robina. And then if you like bokeh, this is, or bouquet, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. This is one of the only backgrounds. Yeah, we all love Ore, don't we? I need to come up with another Ore. I actually kind of have. So I've been working on a drawing. Sometimes I do works in progress and I put them aside and I put them aside and I pick them up, and I grabbed the drawing that I had worked on a year ago and started working on it again this week in all my spare time. But I do have another one that's going to be coming along soon. Okay, and another princess. This is Princess Katrina. Princess Katrina. I did do a version of her. I know what you meant, Mel. Wearing her Day of the Dead makeup, but this one is without. And I think she's actually a really pretty princess. Yes, we all have our whips, don't we? Yes, we do. Unfortunately, I have a number of drawings, and the fairy one is one, like, I know it's going to be one of my favorites, so I'm just taking my time on it. I've spent way too much time rushing things and then regretting them, and I'm much better off when I have a little bit more time to think it out. Okay, so this next one in my Radiant Royalty is Crystal Queen Gwyneth. So she's my Crystal Queen. And again, with the grayscales in the face, if you're looking where these grays are, we've got, 1, 2, 3, at least 3, if not 4 different tones of gray in her face. And you can maybe use 4 different colored pencils to try to achieve the variation of that skin tone. This one is called Quatrefoil Queen Anna. This one is another one that was a whip for a long time that I put down, and I loved all of her jewels, and I really wanted to get the quatrefoil. Do you guys know what that is? That shape. That whole shape as a repeating shape throughout the entire image. That was my goal. So I thought about doing a series like that with shapes, but I don't know if people would be into that or not. Okay, and then, that's it for the princesses. One more. Princess Ayla. Princess Ayla. So Ayla was an original drawing that I did when I did, hi Wen, thank you. When I did The Secrets of Coloring, but I've completely redone Ayla. I'll show you what I mean. Sometimes I look at drawings and then I'm like, if I had more time, I would have done this differently. And this is, I'm just being honest. I mean, as an artist, that's what we do. Okay, so this one's colored in, but you can see the background here. So I completely redid her the way I would have done her. I would have wanted to do her if I had more time. So with a whole new background. So that is Princess Ayla. Okay, and this is my newest image, and still in the Radiant Royalty category. This is Frog Princess Mari. And here's my little frog. And this is actually from a study from one of the frogs in my backyard. I have a little frog pond in the summer at least, and we'll see if they're still there when it warms up. But I wanted to do, this is for the Christmas Stories event that's taking place in Monarch Coloring Events right now. So this is going through the month, and this week, this page is 30% off. Oh, I got to give you guys a code, all the people who are here. But anyway, so don't let me forget that I'm going to give you guys a code. It's only for the people who are here, and I'm going to make a 50% off code in my Etsy store, and it's good for 24 hours if you want to use it. So 50% off of whatever it is. So if you would prefer a digital download, this is in the store. And this is part of the Christmas Stories event that's taking place. So when I'm done showing you this, remind me and I'll talk to you guys about the code. Okay, and then this one here is Atlantic Abbey. This one was done based on a friend's daughter, and she left the Midwest to go to the Atlantic, and that's why I named her that. I always love when I have real people to base my images on. But anyway, so this is Atlantic Abbey. This is the beginning of my mesmerizing mermaids collection. So we've had fairies, princesses, and now we're on mermaids. And this one is called Venus Throned. There are two different Venus images. One of them is a full length image and one of them is a portrait. And I did that because I also did that for the Daydream Fairy because I like to draw little details, you know, like you see all of the little details behind her. I love drawing those things, but not everybody wants to color them or spend a lot of time coloring them. Some people just want to do a close-up portrait. So I felt like the faces were special enough that somebody would want to color one up close. Okay, and this one here is Amathea. Hope you guys can see that. So Amathea has fish in her hair. But she's one of my mermaids, and I did a couple of them that have the, what is it called? Oh my God, my brain isn't working right now. Not seaweed, but the sea kelp. The sea kelp. Flowing as part of the design. I love that. I love Art Nouveau style, so I kind of wanted it to have a little bit of that feel. So she's got fish in her hair. And as my son noticed, there is a Dory, and who's that? A Nemo. Yep, not intentional. Just reef fish. Okay, so here's the other one that uses the kelp. Hi, Naomi. Mesmerizing Mermaids. This is Calypso. I want to color this one. This is one that I'm going to color. That's my plan. But again, with the sort of Art Nouveau feel and the mirroring of the seahorses and the clamshells, that was fun to do. I love coming up with intricate details. And this was a beast to try to do all of the sea kelp and make it work. It was hard. It was not a pretty, some people like to do videos of themselves drawing their pages. Not me. Nope. Because I go through like multiple variations, and it's not pretty. But I finally got it to where I wanted it to be. Okay, and then this one is Thalassa. Thalassa. She's a jellyfish mermaid, or queen of the jellies. I think these are spotted jellies. I think that's what they're called. They're an actual jellyfish. And this one is Sleeping Sea Beauty. And I had a lot of fun with this one because I really had to invent what would be happening around her, the scenery, you know, so that it could be multi-dimensional. How could I make it multi-dimensional? That was my goal. If you guys have questions, go ahead and stop me. But I love doing all the drawing. When I was little, my family used to take me snorkeling, and I studied all the coral and all the fish. So I know what most fish and coral, at least in the Atlantic, I know what most of the fish, the species are, and what the coral is, what it looks like. So that's always fun for me to draw. It kind of brings me back a little bit. And then here's that other portrait we talked about, Venus, the Venus portrait. You can see up close. And I've seen some amazing versions of this. Thank you, Abby. I've seen some amazing versions of this image. And actually, on the back of this book, before I continue, you can see all of the pictures in the book. And then right there is my friend Azusa's coloring. And then right here is my friend Ida's coloring. I only had room. It was really hard to even squeeze those two in here in order to get the rest of them on the back. Hi, Loretta. Okay, moving along. All right, so my last section. Hi, Kelly. You have all the mermaids, but do you have all the fairies? Most of the mermaids are on my Etsy, or in my Etsy store. Oh my gosh, I cannot talk. Okay, so this is the last category, the last section, and it is called Lovely Lasses. And this is Mademoiselle Malachite. I did not know what to call these ladies because they're all different. They're not quite princesses. Thanks, Kelly. They're not quite princesses. And they're definitely not fairies. So, I mean, she could be like an outer space princess. Yes, I do. I photograph a lot of stuff and models, you know, for some of my images. Some of them are just, you know, made up or multiple sources, but some of them are directly, you know, from a specific friend. Gemstone Maidens, I like that. This page was initially in my Bella Futura book, but it was line art, and it was a very popular page when that book came out. But I always wanted to, I actually have colored it several times, and every time I colored it, I was like, you know, I liked it more colored. And the last time I colored it, I did it in blues, and actually I think I have it. Yeah, I used a little picture of it in here, in the beginning of here. You can see it here, right there. But it was a small drawing, and it didn't lend itself, it was too dark, it didn't lend itself to be a coloring page. So I just decided to take this one and I just decided to color or decided to redraw it, and I had fun with it. So she looks a little more updated. So I'm gonna look at your comments again, guys, because I'm not staying on top of them all. You can never figure out how to color coral or what color it should be. You know, that's a really excellent point. Loretta, I totally get that. It's really interesting. If you go on my Instagram, my friend Azusa colored the picture with all the coral in it, the Sleeping Sea Beauty. And the way that she did it as though it really looks like it's underwater. I wish I had it in front of me, I would share it, but it looks like it's underwater by the way that she colored it. And some people, when they're coloring underwater scenes, they just color them like, you know, like they'd be like outside of water. It just happens that certain things are blue or certain things are green. But some people really study the way that the light affects the environment. And that's something that Azusa does masterfully. She's, you know, I always tell her she's like the colorist of light because she understands it so well. That would maybe be a good tutorial. Looking back at your messages here, because I know I've missed some. Thank you, Abby. Thanks, guys, for giving me thumbs up. I think I've answered your questions. Okay. And then Lovely Lasses. This is Song of the Wind. Is everything muted underwater? It can be. I think it depends on what's happening above the water. You know what I mean? If it's a stormy day outside, then for sure everything's muted. But if the sun is shining in, there's like a ray of sun going into the water, then that can actually change everything. So that image that I'm talking about, if you look on my Instagram, you'll see Azusa's coloring. It's got that, that quality with the light coming through. And of course, this is the title page, which I had so much fun doing this one. I'm not usually into steampunk, but I had fun with it. I love all the accessories. It's my favorite thing, and the details. And I got to draw, you know, an animal, so I was happy. Oh, by the way, that is, I think I said it before, that is Aviatrix Charm. And then this one here is Steampunkette. Violet is her name. And she's the first steampunk girl I drew. And that is the end of the book. Ta-da! So, I don't know if you guys have any questions, or if you want to see anything. Oh, actually, I have my proof here. And I was just fidgeting around, you know, playing with the paper, because you have to be able to test it and make sure that it's colorable. And I had some fun testing it out. I used on here luminance, and I would recommend, if you do hair, to very definitely, if you have a harder pencil, like something like a polychromo, works really well. But I am going to be doing some coloring for the people who bought this book. I'm going to do some instruction that I promised as far as grayscale tips. And I do need to upload that. No, there is not a digital version of the book when, but a good number of these images are available, sold individually and in bundles in my Etsy store. If you buy the book, then you have access to, every book that I make has access to a color organizer. So if you're working on something specific, let's say you just wanted to try out your markers, I'm going to do a little example for you here. No, I don't have all my good colors here. So if you wanted to use marker, which by the way, make sure you use a blotter page, whether it's a piece of paper, or better yet, a piece of cardboard or chipboard. That's what this is. I always put this under my pages if I'm using a wet medium. Let's see. Start with. So I have these alcohol markers. This is an Ardix Boros marker. I do have them in my Amazon influencer store, but you will see it definitely will bleed through, which is why you want to have the blotter in there. But if you're following the grays, which is my little expression, then you want to stay where you're going to use your marker where you see the lines. And you can use, when you're doing like a marker, especially like an alcohol marker, you can go through and add more and more and more, and it's not going to destroy the tooth of the paper like a pencil would. But what I like to do is, what I would recommend you do is look real carefully at the grays to help to determine where you want to put your darkest darks, where you want to put your lighter colors. So anything that's white is going to be left a really, really light color, which I don't even know if this color that I'm using right now is light enough for white. Maybe you could break up that shape just a little bit. And then you can come back in. I would have a tendency to let some of these markers dry a little too, because if you just keep on layering them one after the next while they're wet, there's not going to be a lot of definition if you're trying to get like the strokes of hair, that kind of a thing. I hope it makes sense what I'm talking about right now. So you can see how light I'm going. And when you're using this book, or any grayscale book for that matter, my highest recommendation is that you do a couple of things. Number one, use the lightest hand you've got. You want a feather touch, because if you go too heavy, you're really going to fill up your tooth if you're using a pencil, or you're going to just put down too much pigment right away. And it's a lot easier to put more down than it is to try to take it off. So let's see if I can do this. I'm at an odd angle here. But I would definitely, you would benefit from letting some of it dry before you try to cover over it with another color if you're trying to break up the strands. And the other thing is, the other question that a lot of people have is they want to know if you should start with your dark colors or if you should start with your lighter colors. With marker, I have a tendency to start with lighter colors. With pencil, I also have a tendency to start with lighter colors, but when you're coloring the skin in grayscale, I do see there being a good reason to use a very, very light hand and place some of your darks first, because that gray is already on your paper. And if you plug up too much of your paper with your lighter colors, then you're going to have a harder time getting more of your darker colors on top, if that makes any sense. So the ultimate goal is to cover up as much gray as you can, and that's what's going to make your image look natural. And that's why people like grayscale. All right, so let's see if I can do this with a wrong end. I do like these markers. Let's see. I have this little thing here for a reason. I should be using it. It's not too dark. But if I want to go over some of these lines, be really careful not to use too much. And something that I also like to do is I like to combine marker and pencil. And you guys probably already know that I do that. No, of course I used the darkest one. I should have written them down. I'm butchering this. But don't leave any lines gray. So if you need to go over everything with your lighter colors first, then go over everything, but leave out some of your whites. You don't want to cover up all your whites, because your whites are what is going to give it some punch. And by the way, you can use multiple layers of the same color and it will deepen that tone if you're using a marker. So if that makes sense, if you want to do marker. Whew. Okay. All right, so you can see on the back side that that's about how much bleed through we get. So I didn't get any on here, but it's always good to protect your artwork underneath. But anyway, if you do get this book, it will come with a link that is like on the page across from this one here. There's a link, and you guys will get access to a color organizer if you don't already have one or need one, which you can download as many times as you need. And I actually did some variations. I printed very much like this one here. I printed my Daydream Fairy, Delphine, on a faux toned background. And that is available online too, for the people who purchased the book. It's just a little aside, a little gift of something to try. But I think that that is about it. So if you have any questions, I'm going to check in the live chat, and then I'm going to give you guys a code. Thank you guys. Is this Create Space paper? This is KDP Amazon paper, but it is their premium paper. It is not the standard coloring book regular paper. It's a little bit higher of a grade, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, well, we have been at it for almost an hour, and I'm gonna let my lovely, lovely mod, Miss Abby, go back to her pups. And I want to say thank you to you guys. I am going to upload a code for you guys for all of my digital downloads on Etsy. It will be available between the time that I walk away from here now and go put it on my Etsy and the time that, well, tomorrow night at midnight. So for 24 hours plus, it'll be available for 50% off of any digital items, okay? And the code is NIFTY, NIFTY, 50, just 50, NIFTY 50, okay? That's the code, and it's gonna be good until tomorrow night. So you guys can go on a little shopping spree. Give me a minute to go plug it in so that it works for you. So if you try to do it before I get there, don't freak out. I promise you I'm going to do it. And it's just for tonight, for saying thank you for being here. And I would love, love, love if you guys would share this video or the link to my book with your groups or your friends that love to color. That would mean the world to me. And that's it. So thank you for joining me, and I hope that you like the book, and it's on Amazon, and it'll be in other places soon too. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good one.